Licenции давайте говорить.
Да, это мой первый раз на Антонове. Я приехал специально, чтобы летать на это. Have a look at the interior of an airplane dating back to the Soviet times. Все хорошо?
In my high school days, my classmates couldn't wait for summer and their holidays to come, to finally be able to leave to Barcelona on a Ryanair 737, or perhaps to Paris on an EasyJet Airbus 320, or maybe the ones with rich parents to New York on a 777. Me, on the other hand, I used to spend my free time researching the routes of the rarest planes still operating today. The Soviet-built ones, like for example the Tupolevs, Ilyushins and Antonovs. Very unusual looking planes that used to fly daily over the skies of all the Soviet republics, but that, as the years went by, fell more and more in disuse in favor of West-made aircraft, especially after the collapse of the USSR. The airplane I was the most interested in was the Antonov 24, one of the very first Soviet turboprop planes. It used to be the most popular Soviet passenger plane, but is now operated by very few airlines in some of the most remote corners of the world. Of the 1,367 An-24s built in total, about 35 remain in service in 2023, flying regularly across Chukotka, Siberia and the heart of Central Africa. These are destinations that are very hard to reach, and the fact that the Antonovs fly without a fixed schedule makes it very difficult to successfully plan a flight on these Antonov 24s. But some time ago, after years of research, I found a new airline that does not even appear on Flight Radar, by the name Yuzhno Niebo, which operates exclusively in the most remote airports of legendary Kazakhstan. When I found out that the Yuzhno Niebo airline had recently purchased a few second-hand An-24s, but maybe also third or fourth hand, I immediately bought a ticket on their website that was very retro but did the job. I then ventured to the town in northeastern Kazakhstan of Ust-Kamenogorsk. It was now time to fly on the only airline throughout Central Asia that still operates a fleet of 7 Antonov 24s, with an average fleet age of 51 years. My most sincere greetings from a place that is known in Russian as Ust-Kamenogorsk, but that is known in Kazakh as Ust-Kamen. And it's from this place in northeastern Kazakhstan that we will be starting our fantastic adventure on one of the most fascinating airplanes still existing and still operating out there. Now, our flight is in 3 or 4 hours from now, meaning that we still don't know the exact number, the exact registration number of the airplane that we will be traveling on later today. But the youngest one of the fleet is 47 years old. The oldest one is 53, so it's gonna be interesting anyway, right? Let's go for a walk around Ust-Kamenogorsk, or Ust-Kamen, if you prefer, in Kazakh. So let's go and see what this city has to offer. Even though, I mean, the best thing that this city has to offer, we already know that, right? Is the opportunity to fly on an Antonov 24. By the way, I've just entered this park next to the mosque where I was filming my intro from, because I just found something that is very interesting and that can be very much tied into the main theme for this video, which is obviously Soviet aviation, because we've got a nice helicopter with a registration number of CCCP USSR 03586. Now, if I've got any aviation geek watching this video here today, please let me know the routes that this helicopter was flying back in the times of Soviet Kazakhstan. And even more interesting, what I would like to know is the routes that this aircraft right here used to fly back maybe 40 years ago. You see this one, which, oh my god, it's a Yakovlev 40. You don't see many of these anymore, especially still operating. This one is definitely not operating these days, and I can even touch it. Oh my god, this is one of the three main aircraft types of the Soviet Union, if you think about it. You had Tupolevs, you had Yakovlevs, and you had Antonovs from Soviet Ukraine, on one of which we will have the immense pleasure of flying on just later today, whereas this one used to belong to Air Kazakhstan. And if you guys can let me know the routes that this airplane used to fly, you can see the registration number right there. And what I would really like to touch, oh my god, what I can do is touch at least the cover of one of the three engines of the Yakovlev 40. Wow, I've never thought that the day would come, but it has come just now, and you can see one of the most beautiful flags of the world over there. The departure time of my An-24 was getting closer and the excitement was growing higher. The route that I was going to fly was going to take me from Ust-Kamenogorsk to the legendary cosmic town of Karaganda in central Kazakhstan. And flight time was going to be just under 2 hours, allowing me to fully grasp the fantastic experience of flying on an Antonov 24. Я приехал, чтобы летать на Antonov. Знаете, что есть Антонов 24, который, знаете, самолет, да, советский? Ан-24. Да, Ан-24. И можно еще летать на нем. Я просто люблю советскую авиацию, и сегодня уже есть рейс в Караганду. Караганда? Да. Мир, дружба. Ну да. На память. Минуточку. Да. Спасибо. Спасибо. До свидания. Well, this might just be one of the best days of my life. Not only will I have the chance to fly on an Antonov 24, but also I just had a chance to take a picture with a random 60-year-old babushka who wanted to take a picture with me because I'm Italian. After many years of traveling around these places, it still seems surreal to me how most of the times you've got buildings which look exactly the same in all cities of the former Soviet Union countries. Look at that, for example. I've never been to Ust-Kamenogorsk, but I can assure you that that building over there, that commie block that extends for maybe 200 meters, is a building that I've seen 27 times before. All over places like Minsk, Moscow, Soligorsk, and why not, even Komsomolsk-na-Amur. But just because every city looks exactly the same in this part of the world, I don't think there's much that we can do or see here in Ust-Kamen, to the surprise of absolute no one. So what I've been doing just now is I was calling a taxi on Yandex to get myself to what is the main attraction of this part of Kazakhstan, which is obviously the airport. So a couple of minutes and our taxi driver will come to take us to the airport of Ust-Kamenogorsk to board our fantastic Antonov 24. Здравствуйте, Андрей. Вау. Спасибо. Сколько ехать в аэропорт? 20 минут. 20? Окей, хорошо. Спасибо. If you've ever wondered how to say airport in Kazakh, well, there you go. It says Ey uezhai. That's how you say airport in the legendary Kazakh language. And I have to say, this is a very small airport, isn't it? This is just the terminal of the airport here in Ust-Kamen, which is just the right size of an airport which does not see that many flights per day. It's only got a couple of flights to the two biggest cities in Kazakhstan, Almaty and Astana, and then you've got our flight, which is the one going all the way to Karaganda. We will be able to see the exact age of the aircraft that we are going to travel on today just in a few minutes, I think, when the time will come to board the airplane and we'll be able to see the registration number. One thing that I've read on the internet, supposedly, is that it's not really easy to film inside the terminal here. Добрый день. Да.
Багаж будет у вас?
Нет. Спасибо.
Рейс номер 3113 авиакомпании «Южное небо».
I then easily went through security. I wasn't even asked to take my laptop out. That was nice. What wasn't nice was the fact that they seemed to be very much against any sort of filming inside the terminal, probably because they were too scared of Western vloggers coming to film the top secret gates of the airport of Ust-Kamenogorsk. So this terminal right here, I'm currently sitting at the gate, at the only gate of the entire airport of Ust-Kamenogorsk. Basically, it's full of signs with a video camera with a red cross, as if it's actually forbidden to film inside this terminal. So I've got to be really sneaky, and I keep watching over my shoulder to see if there's any crew or any member of the airport staff that can come and tell me off. But basically I'm here sitting at the gate. I still can't see the Antonov that is supposed to take us to Karaganda, but we've still got 55 minutes until our scheduled departure time, so I'll just sit here and wait like a baby for my Antonov 24 to materialize all of a sudden. Right, you can see over there in the distance, I'm still very careful because I don't want to see any member of the staff here to see me, but basically our flight, our plane has just arrived, as you guys can see. That's the Antonov with registration number UPAN417 that will travel on in a few minutes. I'm actually trying to Google just now the registration number just to see if I can get any more info on this specific type of aircraft. So I found a website that is really interesting, which tells me that the first flight on this airplane was performed in November of 1974, meaning that this aircraft right there that we are going to fly today is 49 years old. Also, I was able to find some info about the history of this airplane, which apparently has started service for Aeroflot for the first 18 years of its lifespan, so to speak, and then it has operated in places like Guinea and Siberia before ending up finally, for the final time, in Kazakhstan in 2001. And also, if you guys can see, it says here Antonov 24 RV, which is a specific model of the Antonov 24, which supposedly spits out flames from its engines upon takeoff. And this is even more interesting because apparently this airline right here and Air Koryo, the national airline of North Korea, are the only two airlines in the world which are still operating this specific type of Antonov 24. Спасибо. I finally made it out of the terminal and out of the non-filming zone here in Ust-Kamenogorsk, and we're even closer now. We just got on this bus, which is a bit fun considering that we're like 30 minutes away from the most majestic aircraft ever created in history, 49 years old and still flying in 2023. I don't get why we couldn't just walk all the way to the aircraft, but I mean, rules are rules, right? If we need to get on a bus, that means that we just have to get on a bus. So it looks like we're boarding from the rear door, which is the only door that you can board this type of aircraft from. You can see that confirmation that this is an Antonov 24 RV. And that's the registration number. You can see the engines. You can see, well, the single engine on this side, and obviously the other engine is on the other side, but I don't think I can sneak behind, or rather below this aircraft here, to go and show you the other side, which we should be able to see from the window anyway. I've got a window seat specifically for vlogging. Итальянский, да. Я приехал специально, чтобы полетать на таком самолете, потому что он редкий самолет, да? Это ваш первый раз на этом самолете или нет?
Нет, постоянно летаем.
На этом южном небе? О, вау, интересно. Для меня будет первый раз. Finally, the moment that I had been waiting on for many years had come. I was on a staircase allowing me to board an Antonov 24. Здравствуйте. Oh wow. Unfortunately, as I got to my row, I found a very cute babushka that was sitting on my seat, and I was a bit hesitant on what to do due to my social anxiety. It didn't really seem right for me to ask the babushka to move, even though I had paid for my window seat, but then eventually the flight attendant came to sort out the situation. Простите. Простите, но спасибо. Я специально хотел снимать от окна, поэтому да. I
really feel bad. I feel really bad because there was an older woman sitting on my seat, the seat that I had gotten upon check-in, that I had paid for, just in order to be seated next to the engine, in order to be able to see the flames that will be spat out by the engine upon takeoff. But yeah, the fact that it was an older woman made it very difficult, but thankfully she didn't seem to mind too much. So looks like we're really back in the 1970s in Kazakhstan. We are flying on an airplane that was built in the 1970s, and we are seated next to a woman who, in 1970, probably she was already past 40 years of age. By the way, have a look at the interior of an airplane dating back to the Soviet times. You've got this massive window, you've got a very nice blue curtain, you've got something like this, you've got the table, which is very nice, and the best part is that the seat that I'm currently seated on has got some suspension going on. Can you see? So that will help me soften the blow in case of turbulence. This airplane is by far the noisiest aircraft I've ever been on. It's super hot, it must be like 35 degrees inside of this Antonov 24, but I'm super excited. I had almost no sleep the night before due to a case of food poisoning, which is unfortunately not really that uncommon in Central Asia. But still, any attempt from my brain to fall asleep was quickly nullified by my heart that was beating fast due to the emotions that were running through my veins. And let me tell you what, it would also be quite difficult to fall asleep with the insane noise coming from the engine of an Antonov 24 coming directly into your right ear. Okay, it's not as hot now that we have climbed to cruising altitude, also because I think there might be some holes either here or right below the window, because I can feel some really cold air coming from this thing right here. But anyway, as we have now reached cruising altitude, you can see that we're not as up as you would think, as you normally are when reaching cruising altitude on a Boeing or on an Airbus, and that is because, unlike most Western aircraft which can travel all the way up to 10,000 meters above sea level, the maximum altitude for an Antonov of this kind is 6,600 meters. That means that even though we are at cruising speed and altitude right now, we can still distinguish some of the features, such as roads and rivers, of the territory of this part of Kazakhstan, even though we're still above some of the low clouds that you can see right here. I'm actually surprised not to see an ashtray on this airplane right here, because I don't know if you've ever been on an airplane, even from the West, that is older than 30 or 40 years. You usually tend to see ashtrays because they date back to a time where it was actually legal to smoke on airplanes, and yeah, this one apparently does not have an ashtray, which is interesting. Another thing that I was really curious to try on Yuzhno Nieba was going to be the in-flight meal. I obviously wasn't expecting a 3-course meal, but I was very curious to see if we would have got a single candy, as used to be tradition for any Soviet airliner back at the times of the USSR. So it looks like that unfortunately Southern Sky doesn't offer any in-flight meal. Not even some candies or chocolate, as it used to happen very often during the times of the Soviet Union. But at least we've got some water for free, which does not even happen on Ryanair or Wizz Air, right? And you can't even fly old as Antonovs on those airlines, so Southern Sky is definitely miles better than Ryanair or any other low-cost airline that we've got in Europe. So yeah, no Soviet candy for us, no big deal. After drinking half a liter of water, you can guess what came up next. The toilet, and even that is not going to be a mundane thing on an Antonov 24.
А думаете, что есть туалет на борту этого самолета? Туалет есть? Знаете, есть? Хорошо, спасибо.
Спасибо. Здравствуйте. А у вас туалеты есть? Туалет есть? О, можно посмотреть? Спасибо. Да, это мой первый раз на Антонове. Я приехал специально, чтобы летать на это.
So this is your typical toilet of an Antonov 24. This is what I was saying about Nicorit, you see? Even though this plane was built in 1974, wow, I can feel the turbulence from the toilet. I can hear some noise from the back here, and oh my god, it's a bit dark in this toilet right here because we've got these three lights which do not illuminate the area that much. And I'll tell you what, it's clean, it's very clean. So fair play to the crew of Yuzhno Neba, Southern Sky Airlines. I was just talking to the guy right here who wanted to shake my hand because he was very surprised to hear that somebody would fly all the way from Italy to fly on this very aircraft right here. Oh wow. Хорошо, как вас зовут?
Мурат.
Мурат. Давиде, очень приятно.
Кто?
Давиде. Так что вы делаете 25 рейсов в неделю.
У нас 6 бортпроводников. Например, вот за сегодня, короче, 3 посадки, да? Вот, Ust-Kamenogorsk, Karaganda, Karaganda, Kazakhstan, Karaganda. Тон. Это на завтрак. Караганда, Kazakhstan, Karaganda, Karaganda, Туркестан.
Интересно. И все Ан-24, да?
Да, мы, вот, например, зимой на Боинге летаем. Здесь лучше работать здесь, чем на Боинге. Здесь
Почему?
Здесь как можно сказать, сам себе хозяин.
А думаешь, что после полета не можно посмотреть внутри кокпит?
Нет.
As the great Carmelo Anthony used to say, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? Unfortunately, my return to my assigned seat was quite untimely, as just as I was trying to make my way around the cute babushka sitting next to me, we hit massive turbulence. I kid you not, if the plane had descended for a couple of extra meters, the babushka would have ended up in the hand luggage compartment.
О, осторожно.
Все хорошо? Oh, oh well, I came back to my seat just in a moment of turbulence and I almost had the babushka fly away through the window. I feel bad. Вот, держитесь. Иногда делает это так, да? By the way, another thing that is very interesting that I've noticed while I was walking back from the bathroom is that if you can see, the roof of this aircraft has got a mirror. So on the corridor you can see reflected the seats and the heads of the passengers right there, which is very interesting, but at the same time is one thing that is very common in all older aircraft of the Soviet Union. And it's also interesting that the overhead compartment for the hand luggage, as you can see, is like open and you can't really close it like you're normally able to do on an airplane. So it feels like you're in a train or a bus or something, right? Just now entered, oh my god, the turbulence, we have just now entered the Karaganda Oblast, and the pilot was making an announcement just now, but unfortunately I couldn't really make out what he was saying because of the noise coming from the engines, really. What I think he was going to say is that we're just now getting ready for landing, basically. According to the schedule, we are supposed to be landing in 20 to 25 minutes, so let's just make sure that we enjoy these very last moments on this airplane, which is 50 years old. 49, not quite 50. And the landing gear has come back out. That means that we are very close to landing now. On the runway, but we've made it successfully. We survived. Such a nice feeling taxiing
is the Karaganda airport. In the meanwhile, engines are being shut off. Thank you for your service. Wow, I've never been so sad at the thought of getting off an airplane. Wow, what an experience. I would do it all over again. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Antonov 24. One of the best flights of my young life.
And so, another fantastic adventure had come to an end. I know that most geographic nerds are very passionate about anything related to aviation as well, so I'm hoping that flying on an Antonov 24 would be as exciting for you as it was for me. I've still got great plans to fulfill in Central Asia, and specifically in the Oblast of Karaganda, so if you've liked this video, please consider supporting me by following me on my Instagram @DaveLegenda, and maybe by subscribing to my Patreon as well. Cheers! Thank you! Bye!